Hi guys, this is Miss Gold. Today's lesson is Module 1, Lesson 10, Multi-Step Ratio Problems. Your goals for today's lesson are students will solve multi-step ratio problems including fractional markdowns, markups, commissions, fees, etc. Let's start with example 1. A retail clothing store advertises the following sale. Shirts are 1/2 off the original price, pants are 1/3 off the original price, and shoes are 1/4 off the original price, which is called the discount rate. If a pair of shoes costs $40 and is advertised at 1/4 off the original price, what is the sales price? We're actually going to start by doing a very visual model of this, and this can be really helpful for you until you're ready to move into a more algebraic process. So we're going to use a bar model for this. So I'm going to start with a bar to represent the whole cost of the pair of shoes, or rather the original cost. So the value of this bar is currently $40. And what we're told is that it's advertised at 1/4 off the original price. So what I want to do with my bar is break it up into quarters. So let's first break it up into halves and then into quarters. So I can see that if this whole bar is $40 and each of these are the same size, that tells me that 40 divided by 4 would give me $10 each. And if it's 1/4 off, it means one of these is going to be taken off, leaving us with 10, 20, 30. So the sales price is $30. Now this is just one method of doing this. Let's take a look at two other methods. So if I am going to first figure out what is 1/4 of the original price, and then I know afterwards, since it's a discount or it's 1/4 off the original, I'm going to subtract. So let's first figure out what is 1/4 of the original price. So what I'm going to do here is actually just translate word for word. So 1/4 is still 1/4. And of in math means to multiply. And that's something you want to know and you want to memorize because you're going to see it a lot this year. And the original price we were told is $40. So when I multiply these two, we end up getting $10. And then since it's 1/4 off, 1/4 of it is 10. So we would do the original price, taking off $10, and that leaves us with $30. A third way, and this is actually the method I prefer, and you'll see this a lot this year, is where we're going to think about the fact that if it's 1/4 off the original price, if I take 100% of the item and I take off 1/4 of the price of the item, I would be left with having to pay for 3/4 of the item. So I'm going to pay for 3/4 of the price. That's what I'm going to be responsible for. So let's translate this one. 3/4 is still 3/4. Of means to multiply, and the price is 40. 3/4 of 40 is $30. So you can see that this is a little bit quicker method than the other two. Let's take a look at part B. At Peter's Pants Palace, a pair of pants usually sells for $33. If Peter advertises that the store is having 1/3 off sale, what is the sale price of Peter's pants? Okay, this one will be similar to the one we just did. First, I'm going to take my bar, and I know the value of this bar is $33. And it's going to be 1/3 off, so I need to break my bar into thirds. Okay, and if each of these are the same, I really can think about the fact that 33 divided by 3 is 11. So each of these has a value of 11. So if it's going to be 1/3 off, we would cross off 1/3, and 11 plus 11 is $22. So they're going to be on sale for $22. To do it with our second method, if it's going to be 1/3 off, I need to know what is 1/3 of the price. So that means 1/3 times our price of $33, which gives us 11. And then I'm going to subtract the 11 because it is 1/3 off the price, and that gives us $22 as well. And then our third method, we know that if you take 100% of the item and take away 1/3 of it, you're left with 2/3 of the item. So I'm going to pay for 2/3 of the price. So 2/3 of is to multiply, and the price is 33. And when we multiply those, we end up with $22. Let's take a look at example 2. A used car salesperson receives a commission of 1/12 of the sale price. I'm going to highlight that. That's important information. Of the car on each car he sells. What would the sales commission be on a car that sold for $21,999? So I'm actually going to use what I highlighted. If you are talking about commission, commission is what a salesperson earns on top of their base salary, and it's based off of a percentage or a fraction of their sales. So in this case, this salesperson earns 1/12 of the sale price. So let's write that down. So 1/12 of the sales price. So we know 1/12 is 1/12, and we just learned that of means to multiply, and we were actually told that the price of the car is $21,999. So really all this is telling us is that we are just going to multiply 1/12 times $21,999. And when we do that, we get $1,833.25. So that is going to be his commission on this car sales. Example 3 says, as part of a marketing ploy, some businesses mark up their prices before they advertise a sales event. Some companies use this practice as a way to entice customers into the store without sacrificing their profits. A furniture store wants to host a sales event to improve their profit margin and to reduce their tax liability before their inventory is taxed at the end of the year. How much profit will a business make on the sale of a couch that is marked up by 1/3 and then sold at a 1/5 off discount if the original price is $2,400? So there's really two parts to this problem. The first thing I need to account for is the markup. So let's start with markup. And you can do this in different ways. Let's actually do this with bar modeling, and we'll take a look at one other method. So for the markup, first, I have my original cost of my item, which the original cost is $2,400. And we are going to mark it up by 1/3. So I'm going to break this up into thirds. And so I can take 2,400 and divide it by 3, and that gives me 800. So 1/3 of this item is 800. So if I'm going to mark it up, it actually means that I'm going to add on a 1/3 bar. So this is also going to have a value of $800 because it's the same as the other 1/3 bar. So let's just mark that this is the 1/3 markup. So when we put that in there, the total is now going to be $3,200. The other way to do this is similar to our third method in example 1, where you have to pay for 100% of the item plus a 1/3 markup. So really this is 1 1/3. So I'm going to pay for 1 1/3 of the item. So let's translate. 1 1/3 of means to multiply, and the price was 2,400. And when I multiply those two, I get 3,200. Okay, so here's two different ways to do this problem. Now, the second part is we have to account for the 1/5 discount. So we're going to start with a new bar, and that bar is going to have a value of $3,200. So let's take this, and we know this bar has a value of $3,200. And we want to have a 1/5 discount. So basically, we want to take this and break it up into 5 pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I take $3,200 and divide it by 5, I get 640. Now I am going to discount it 1/5. That means I'm going to take off one of these. So when I take off the $640, we are left with a final price of $2,560. Another way to do this with our second method is thinking about the fact that if you have 100% of the item and we take off 1/5, that means that you're going to have to pay for 4/5 of the item. So 4/5 of the price, and this is the new price. So this would translate as 4/5 times 3,200. And when you do that, you get 2,560. Okay, let's take a look at our last example. A motorcycle dealer paid a certain price for a motorcycle and marked it up by 1/5 of the price he paid. Later, he sold it for $14,000. What is the original price? Probably the best way to do this is to use a bar model. So let's start with the original price. Now this actually is going to be an unknown in this, so we'll just say that this part of the bar represents the original price. And we know that he took the original price and marked it up by 1/5. So I need to take my bar and divide it into 5 parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these aren't perfect, but that's okay. It's just the idea that they're all the same value. So since they're all the same value, if I take this and mark it up by 1/5, that means we're going to add a 1/5 to this. So this is the 1/5 markup. And when we marked it up 1/5, the price became $14,000. So because this entire bar represents $14,000, I can take 14,000 and divide it by how many pieces of this bar there are. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to divide this by 6, and when I do that, I find that it is a value of $2,333.33. So each one of these represents that amount. Okay, so now if I want to just figure out what is the original price, I'm only looking at the original part of the bar. And from there, we know that they each have a value of $2,333.33, and there are 5 parts of those bars. So when we multiply those, we find the original price of the car was $11,666.67. Another way to do this is simply thinking about the fact that we would have an unknown in this scenario. So let's let X equal the original price. So if we think about the fact that we're going to pay for 100% of the item, that would be 1 whole, and we're going to mark it up by 1/5, we're going to have a final price of $14,000 is representing 1 1/5 of the original price. So let's interpret that. 1 1/5 of the original price is going to equal the sale price. And so what I have here is an equation that we can interpret. So 1 1/5 stays 1 1/5. Of means to multiply. The original price is unknown at this point, and we represent using X. The sale price, though, we know is $14,000. All right, so you can see here that I have an equation we can solve. I'm going to draw my wall. I have multiplication between these two, so if I want to get X by itself, I'm going to get rid of the 1 1/5 by dividing by 1 1/5. And if I do something to one side, I have to do it to the other side. So 1 1/5 divided by 1 1/5 cancels and becomes 1. 1 times X is X. And here we will get $11,666.67. So you can see it turns out the same as our other way. In this lesson, you have learned that discount price is equal to the original price minus the rate times the original price, or 1 minus the rate times the original price. Commission is rate times the total sales amount, and markup price is the original price plus the rate times the original price, or 1 plus the rate times the original price.